Today we are going to discuss about the CTE. So basically in today's session we will cover what is CTE, what is the syntax of CTE, and then how you can perform the CTE, I mean the DML operation using the CTE,
Mhm,
and the recursive CTE statement, and at last we'll learn how you can optimize your query, that is how you can tune your query using CTE concept. So
mhm,
before getting into the CTE, now what is the what does it mean by CTE? So CTE is nothing but CTE is a common table expression. In SQL Server, if you are referring, then CTE is just a common table expression. The full form of CTE is. So, what is CTE? The concept wise, we have learned. I mean, the temporary table. We have learned some other stuff like subqueries and all in SQL.
mhm.
So, I mean, in temporary table also we are creating some temporary table and we are executing the query on top of that by referring.
Mhm,
So similar to that one, if you want to, I mean, uh, if you want to directly implement the concept in a query, you can use the common table expression basically removes the complexity of the query, right? It will simplify your query in such a way so that easily you can write your SQL statements. and
Okay.
and and the best benefit of using CTE is basically it creates the query result set in the memory on the fly. Okay, so you need not to store anywhere, and after storing you need to refer it.
Mm,
As long as the query will be there, it will be usable. Okay. So
mhm,
the scope of the CT is within that query. Okay. So we'll see how and what I'm talking about in the upcoming few SQL statements, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
we always notice that, I mean, most of the SQL statement starts with select statement, right? But
Yes.
in case of CTE, it starts with clause. Okay. So in SQL Server we are using the term CTE, okay, common table expression. But if you are from the Oracle background, we are using it with clause. Okay. So in
Mhm,
another way, CTE can be termed as with statement. Okay. So don't
mhm,
get confused with and CT, both are same.
mhm,
Just the difference of the DB. In
mm,
Oracle, we are referring at it as a with clause, and in Oracle, in SQL Server, we are referring it as a common table expression. That's it.
mhm,
There is no big difference, and the
mhm,
syntax remains the same. Okay, so the syntax for CTE is like it starts with, then you need to give the expression name, and then the list of columns. Okay,
mhm.
this part is optional. Okay, in case of normal with expression, but if you are going with the recursive, then you have to use it. So we'll see. Then followed by as. Okay, then your CTE definition. CTE definition is nothing but your query. You noticed, like creates a query, results it
Mm,
in the memory on the fly, right? So
mm,
the query which you want to use it for the CTE goes here
mhm.
in your CTE definition. Then comes, once your CTE is definition is created, you can use your CTE definition in your SQL statements,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So this is the syntax basically. Now let's see how we can implement this syntax into the SQL statements. So far, any doubt or confusion what is
No, no,
CTE or what?
no, no. It's all good.
It's all good, right?
Mhm,
Now let me go to the SQL statements, right? So for that, let me create a table first, and then let me explain you the CT concept. Okay. So our table is created. Basically in this table, what we're gonna store is basically this one is student details table, where I'll store email ID, the name of the student, the college name, and the stream, in which stream he has enrolled for, and the year of passing. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
basically I'm storing these information. Now as I mentioned, the CT statements start with. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I have used this with clause. Then
Mm-hmm.
it starts with your CTE data. Okay. And
That's
for the
that's like variable name, yeah.
yes, yes, that's like a variable name. So for the time being, I'm not using this. Okay. I'm keeping it as a optional. As I mentioned, you can use it or you cannot use it. It's up
Yeah.
to us, right? Now, inside this, I have written this set of SQL statements. So, before going to execute, let me, the entire syntax, let me show you the result set, right? So, this is my result set basically. And for that, I have written this query. Clear? So, this is nothing, just a set operator.
Okay.
Using that, I just
Okay.
created a dummy record
Okay.
set.
So this is
Okay.
just this is just standard SQL.
Yes, this is just a standard SQL. Okay,
Mm.
so if you noticed, if I execute till here, right, two results set,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I'm with you. It's union all. Yeah.
Yeah, so union all, I created the dummy record set, and then I'll use this dummy set in my query. Okay, so if I go with the syntax, so this one is basically your CTE definition. In
Mm-hmm.
another word, if I say, if you notice these things, CTE definition,
Yeah.
right? So CTE is, the definition is clear, width is clear, common expression is clear. Now comes as. Okay. So if you go to this
Yeah. Yeah.
statement after your CTE definition name, you just need to use as. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
then your CTE definition, and then if you want to use your CTE, like in which way you want to use. If you want to use select statement, you can write your select statement. If you want to use insert, you can use insert. If you want to use delete, then you can delete it. So one by
Mm-hmm.
one I'll explain you. So this one is my SQL statements. Okay, let
Mm-hmm.
me let me execute the entire set so that you will get to know. Okay, so let me execute first. So you can see we are getting the result set, right? As simple as that. Now, definitely you have a question like why this one is needed, right? Mail
Mm-hmm.
ID, name, college name.
Maybe
Okay.
you only want to have less fields. That's why.
Mm, yes, but for the first thing, right? For the first thing, whatever be the result set, it is returning here, right? Four columns
Okay.
or
Maybe
five.
you want to put it in a different order. That's why.
Yes. So let's try doing one by one. Okay. So if I give it as this, and then if I execute this one, right? You see, we are getting the same name.
Yeah.
Now coming to this, like if I want to rename it, okay. So if I want to rename these things, like you can see in mail ID field, I'm renaming it as a email. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the others field I kept it as it is, just the uppercase and lowercase conversion. So let me execute this. Okay. So you see,
Yeah.
previously
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like email ID, mail ID. Now it
Mm.
is as
Yeah.
email.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm
Okay.
with you. Yeah. Yeah.
So you can use it as renaming. Now
Mm.
coming to your point, which you said like ordering, you can change it. So let's see whether we are able to do it or not. Okay, so if I change this order, right, if I change it to
It
this
it
order.
might it might not work because
Okay.
of
Hmm.
the where we're kind of using the data to kind of put it into the database with
Yes, yes.
that might fail.
Yes, that might fail. So let's see, after executing it, let's see how it will work. So let me execute. You see, the order gets changed, right?
Mm.
So, I mean, previously it was like, you see, fields
Yeah.
remain same, only the header name gets changed, right?
Mm.
The data remains same, but order is, I mean, the column name gets changed, right? So always we need to remember that the order in which we are getting the Cte result set, in the same way we need to give the column name,
Yeah.
right?
Depending on the data, we put the column names
Yes,
accordingly.
yes, yes, yes. So in this way we can execute our select statement. Now coming to the point, like as you mentioned, like if we are concerned about the specific columns, we can easily pull it. So if I execute this mail ID, if I take only the mail ID column, we'll get, sorry, not mail id,
It's
as
called
we have renamed it, so we need to use email. Okay, so you see, yeah, we are concerned about the email id, so
mm.
we have just given the eid, email id, in my select, and I'm getting it, right?
Yes.
Now let's select, from select, any doubt or confusion, we just created the common table
Uh,
expression, and now we can write it this select statement.
okay.
Here you can write it in any way. Okay, let's say for example you are concerned about college from GNIT, right? So if I put it like where college name equals to GNIT, it will give me
Yep. Yep.
all the data from
Yeah.
GNIT college,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So let me take this and let me take this.
Hmm.
Okay. So if I execute this statement, I'm expecting only all the data from GNIT, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can write your all the SQL queries in whatever way we are writing, we can use it. The only thing we are referring this CTE table now. Okay.
Hmm.
And CTE table is what we have created here, right?
Yeah.
So this one is just a common expression, okay, which we can use it in our select, our insert, or delete, whatever operation, right? There are few limitation of using the common table expression, which I'll discuss it in
When does
few
it
minutes.
go out of scope?
Yes, that is what. So out of scope, when we are talking about out of scope, right? So whenever you will write your query, right? So this is my statement, right? This is my SQL statements. I cannot execute it without referring to this CTE table. If I need to execute this statement,
You have to do it together.
I need to put it together. So I can say the scope of the CTE table is limited to the limit of this SQL statement.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you? Okay. Can you say under this
Yes.
example? I know this is not good code. Can you put return do union all
Mm, just let's try doing that one. Let's
and
see.
then have another select statement
Yes. Let's see.
like using
Good
college
question.
name is equal to something else? I know it's
Yes.
not good code, but I just
Yes.
want to see it
Yes.
working.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Whatever questions we are thinking, let's write it. Definitely. This is what you are trying to say, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
for the first time, let me remove this code. Okay.
Just to see if it works. Yeah.
Okay. Let me remove this. So now my query remains only this much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
previously it was working for GNIT. Let me execute it for Brainware University. So this one is working.
Yeah.
Now let me remove this comment and let's see whether I'm able to get the data or not. Okay.
Hmm.
So according to you, this one is my SQL query. Now let me execute it and let's see we are
Yeah.
getting the data, right?
Good. Good.
So it's working. So we can say in this way we can write it, our
Yeah. Yeah.
SQL query.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clear? So any other question?
No, all
No,
good.
all good. So great. So in this way, we can first thing we just need to remember, like we just need to create the CTE, okay, and
Hmm.
on top of that we can write whatever query we just need for our simplicity. We can simply refer that one. Okay, I'll take one big example. I have
Yeah.
one big, very big query uh, of around 180 lines, and
Yep.
I'll explain you that how yes we can reduce that lines of code using with clause. So definitely I'll cover that one too. So I mean, up to select, any doubt or confusion, select is clear
No.
to you?
Yeah. Totally clear.
Okay, okay. Now, using CTE, how you can perform the insert operation? That is a good point, right? Because in the beginning of the session, I have created this table, right? So currently, my
Mm.
this table is totally empty.
Yeah.
Okay, start from this. If I execute it, you see, this one is totally empty. Now I have a CTE table, CTE, and using CTE, I just want to populate the data. Okay,
Mhm.
so as we know the syntax of this insert statement. Normally, what we used to do, insert into some table name, select star from where we want to pick the data. So in that from, if we refer the CTE table, it will give me the CTE data, and we can easily populate it, right, as per the normal logic. So if I execute this entire statement, okay, if I execute it, you see 37 records affected, right? So using CTE, we can populate the data as well.
Yeah.
Clear? Now you
Yeah.
see student tables is getting
Mm.
populated with all those data.
Yes.
So we have noticed the select statement, we can perform all the tasks. We have noticed the insert operation from the CT, right? We can
Yeah.
perform the insert as well. Now here, I mean, if you are concerned about the specific column insert, you can insert it. If you are concerned about the, I mean, multiple columns, you can do it. You just need to modify the insert statement, nothing
Hmm.
else.
Hmm.
That's it.
That's fine.
Okay, okay. So the insert is also clear to you.
Hmm.
Now, similar to this, you can perform the delete operation as well. If you
Hmm.
are, if you wish to perform any delete operation, right? So you
Hmm.
can perform that too. Like if you have a list of mail ID, and you just need to delete that list of mail ID from your student details.
Hmm.
Okay, so the simple statement will be like this, like delete from students where email in your list of mail ID from the CT. So in the previous select statement, we have noticed how we can fetch the email ID, I mean the single column from the CT. So this one is the syntax for that one. I have just taken the mail ID, list of mail ID. Okay, so here I just need to change this mail ID because I'm referring to this, not the old one. So I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
need to change this one. So this is my syntax, right? I have the list of mail ID. I'm taking it from here. Now let me execute this statement. So what it will do basically, it will take all the mail ID and whatever present in student details with respect to that my mail ID, it will simply delete it, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so if I execute, you see 37 records gets deleted. Now if I query this, we won't
Blank.
find any detail,
Yes.
right? So I mean, insert is clear, delete is clear, select is clear to you with respect to CT.
Yes.
Okay, so we have covered, I mean, the first point, what is CT, the syntax is clear. Now the next one is insert, delete using your CT, we have done. Now the next is recursive CT. What does it mean by recursive? Do you have any idea that why we are using recursive, and when, in which scenario we can use recursive? Uh any idea?
Um. in the using using CTE, querying, and then having another query within that.
Yes, kind of, but not exactly as it is. Like, let's say, for example, in C or in Java or in Python, we have learned something like a concept of function, right? There will be one function, and we are calling that function continuously within that function, right?
Hmm.
So it is kind of recursive. The same function calling to himself, right? Within that scope.
Hmm.
And we have some condition criteria that yes, once you meet this condition, you need to come out of that situation, that
Hmm.
calling statement, right?
Hmm.
Otherwise it will be a kind of finite loop. So let's see how and in the correct way of using that one, right? How we can do these things, right? How we can perform the recursive CT. Okay, so but before getting into that, we have some limitation. Okay, and that limitation of using that CTE is these statements, like the following clause cannot be used within the CT query definition, like order by, because it doesn't mean, right? If you use the order by clause within that CT definition, there is no meaning, right? Until or unless if you are specifying the top clause or something like that, right? Because anyway, on top of that, we are going to write the another SQL statement,
Yes.
right? So there is no point of ordering that data in a particular way.
Yes.
The next thing is into clause, right? We know into clause is used for storing the value into some table, right?
Hmm.
So in CT is just a kind of select statement, the CT definition, right? It is returning the result set. So
Hmm.
there is no point of storing that result set within that CT definition. Definitely we can use it, that CT definition, and we can perform some insert statement, insert into something like that, which we have already discussed. The next one is option clause, clause with query hints, right? There is no point, because for that separate section is the SQL statement. So in that we can play around with all those things, and
Hmm.
that for browse. So these are basically the limitation we cannot use within the CT definition, right? Now coming to the recursive statements, which we guys are talking about. I'm sorry, I just deviated from that point.
That's
So
all right.
like the definition will remain same, like with expression name, the list of columns as, and here this one will be your CTE definition, and then your select statement. So the syntax will remain same, only we are going to play with this section and this section, that's it. So so in CTE we are having one anchor member, which is the parent kind of stuff, and the recursive is basically the child kind of stuff,
Hmm.
right? So we can consider anchor is playing the parental role in the recursive expression, and the recursive member who is referring to the CT table, and then it is being used. So basically this one is a syntax. Okay, so here we just need to remember, I mean, first we need to have a anchor member in our CT recursive expression, and then we can use this recursive member that reference the expression. Okay, so this one is recursive query. Okay, and then
Yep.
we can create the SQL statement based on that. So
Yeah.
I have a very good example, right, using which I can easily explain you that how it is working, right? So I have this, just let me extend a little bit. Yes. So the entire window is, yep. Okay. So as you know, basically this one is my Cte definition. This one is syntax. This one is syntax. This one is just my query SQL statement,
Mhm.
right? So if I execute these statements, right? Date name is basically a function where if you pass the DW parameter, it means we are going to get the day, right? And zero means we are referring to
What is
zero.
DW?
D
DW.
DW basically, it's a date name is a built-in function. You can see the definition: interval,
Hmm.
date, div, offset,
Yeah.
return, right? So first we need to give interval and then the date. So DW means your
Oh, weekday. Weekday. Okay.
weekdays, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are passing it. If we are passing one here, you see will get Monday, sorry, Tuesday, right? So
Hmm.
we can see by changing this
Hmm.
argument, we can
Yeah.
easily change the date,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So like that. So as we have given the input as 0, let me give the input here as 0, right?
Mm.
So 0th is my Monday. Okay.
Mm.
Now this up to here is like my what to say, I mean the anchor, right? This one
Mm.
is my anchor expression. Okay. Anchor
Which?
member, anchor
Oh,
member
the
is
first bit.
this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
That's
this one
anchor.
is
Yeah.
my anchor member.
Mm.
And the below one, you see what I'm doing
Is the
here.
recursive?
Here it is 0, here it is n plus 1. So value of 0, right? It
Mm.
is just added by 1, and it will give me the return, right? Because in Cte, if I execute up to this, wait, let me simplify this so that it will be easy for you. If I execute this, if I execute this, what we will get? Monday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because this one will give me only the single. Now the value of n here is 0, right? If
Yeah.
I take this n here, if I take the value n here, if I execute it, you see the value of n is 0,
Is
right?
it zero because we put zero in the select?
Yes, because 0 we put it in the select, right? If we
Okay.
put 1 and 1, then it will be 1, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So up to here it is clear.
Yeah.
Now we are going to use the recursive member that
Mm.
reference the expression name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so here you see we have written one select statement, but in the select we are referring to this common expression,
Mm-hmm.
right? So within that Cte, we are referring to within that Cte definition, we are referring to the Cte. So within the definition, we are referring to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here the value of n will take 0 because we have given 0 over here, right?
So when you run it first time, it's zero. So when it
Yeah.
goes into the recursive,
Yes.
it will look at the CTE numbers expression and it's
Yes.
zero, and it
Yeah.
will increment it by one. Correct?
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
And then the CTE number expression is now one. Then it
Yes.
runs second time, it
Yes.
becomes two, and it'll keep doing it until it's five, and then
Yes,
it come out.
yes,
Correct?
exactly, exactly. So if in that way it will execute, and it will wait till, I mean, less than 6,
Yeah,
right?
up to
So,
five.
yes, up to 5. So first record will be populated it from here, and then it will give me the
Yeah,
rest of the days. Okay, so if I execute the entire statement, you see I'll get all the weekdays, right?
yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So in this way we can populate our days as well. Okay,
Hmm.
for understanding I'm putting n here so that it will be more clear to you.
Yeah.
So in this way, basically, the recursive expression works, right? Here I put n. N is basically the exit criteria, so that it will come out from that situation. Okay,
Mm,
that
mm.
definition. If I put it here, like let's say for example 4, let's see what happened.
Can you explain one thing?
Yes,
I understand it, but in the recursive, we're doing it from Cte numbers. So
yes.
so what happens to Cte numbers each time? I understand what the output will be and everything,
Okay,
but but because um how does it update? That's the bit I'm a bit confused about.
okay. So just give me 1 second, right? Just give me 1 second. Okay, so basically this one will be my main, right?
Hmm.
And every time we are calling it this one, right? So initially this one is 1. Now when we
Zero.
are
Initially,
yes,
it's zero. Yeah.
yes, now we have another statement, right?
Hmm.
So let me create another box like like this, and both are within this, right? So I have another statements,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So my this one is the anchor, right? And this one is my recursive. Both is referring to, both are within my city definition, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So every time basically the city number is referring to this entire box, right?
Okay, I got it. I got
Okay,
it.
so every time whenever I am going to call the n plus 1 and then the value, okay,
Yeah.
every time when I'm going to call this n, it is referring to this n, okay, and it will add one value. So initially it is n equals to your 0,
Hmm.
okay. Now n plus 1 will be 1, then 2,
Hmm.
then 3, then your 4, and so on,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So similar to that, and now date num, right? Date name is basically the function. So here it returns the, I mean the number, sorry, the days,
Yeah.
and with respect to the n plus 1. So as my value is 0 initially, right? In the
Mm.
next loop, it will increment by 1, okay,
Mm.
and it will give me 1. And
So,
the
so,
first
so, ba-
days,
so basically, the n within the anchor keeps getting updated.
yes, yes,
Okay,
and
I understand.
and the exit condition will be your greater than 4 or greater than 6, whatever you have given.
I understand. I understand. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
So I mean, any other doubt or confusion
No,
so far, whatever we have
no,
discussed?
all good. All good.
Okay, good. So the next point which is left is like your query optimization, right? So we have already seen how we can write our query, how we can write our CT definition, and how we can write the SQL statement, be it your select, be it your update, be it your delete, right? And then we have learned about the recursive CT. Now coming all together, right? If we need to, I mean, if we see some big query like this, okay,
Yeah.
I have one big query. I cannot execute this query into my DB because I don't have all these tables and all. But just to explain you, right? This
Mm.
query is basically is from online shopping experience, right? And there the owner wants to know. I mean, one user has purchased one item, okay, and the second purchase when he has done. I mean, purchase before 90 days or purchase after 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this query gives the result set of that one. Okay, so you can see the customer ID, and
Mm.
then purchased after
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
90 days, purchase after 90 days, or no purchase, something like that. Okay, so for that one, T purchase status after cancel. So from there they are putting some condition. So if you notice this subquery, right? So within the subquery, they have written a single SQL statements, right? So this one is one, this one is refund type, this one is transaction type, this one is POS join,
Yeah.
LOB join. So very big query, right?
Mm-hmm.
So up to here, it is a purchase table. Okay, customer purchase,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this one is my single query. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
next is the similar query. You can see the same query I repeated for refund type in a join with transaction type, okay, in a join
Yeah.
with your POS join. So same syntax, right? Everything is same. And then this one is cancel, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then we are doing some grouping, and we are pulling all those data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have noticed, right, the same query we have written in two times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we can do using CTE uh, is like this, right? You can see we have written one CTE expression. Wait, let me show you. This one will be more clear. Okay, so you can see with CTE, I just created one purchase cancel. Okay, this one is basically my CTE table where I have kept my all the single queries, right? So this one is my basically the CTE expression. Okay, up to here, this one is my CTE, and then from here, I started my select
Equals.
statement,
Yeah.
SQL select statement,
So
right?
there's no duplication here.
No duplication here, right? So you can see I just wrote my condition here and it's done.
And
So
and from your condition, you're accessing the CTE
yes,
odd
yes,
times.
yes, 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 yes. So like
Um,
that. So you see
okay.
here I have created purchase cancel. Okay, so from purchase cancel, the category name I'm putting it as a purchase, then the transaction category name as cancel, and then purchase and cancel I have created, and then I just join it and then just refer it, right?
Okay.
So I
Where's the first purchase cancel query?
purchase cancel query is this one
No, 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 no. In your select statement.
in my select statement.
Yeah.
So basically this one is the entire query where I have just removed one criteria,
No, no, no.
right? Like
I mean, where you're accessing. Where's the first time you're accessing the select in the for the purchase query? Go down.
purchase
Go down. Stop. Stop. Okay. Where does your select statement start?
select statement starts from here.
Okay. 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 So where's the first place where you've used purchase cancel?
Purchase cancel here only.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay. 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 Okay.
I think you are getting confused. So let me split this query. Let me keep it somewhere. Now you read this query, you will
Mm,
get to know this one is my select, right?
mm, mm-hmm.
And here after from I created two inline view. Okay, so I have given this purchase, I have given this as a cancel. Okay, and this purchase and cancel I am referring it in my query. You see
Mm,
purchase cancel, right? So
okay.
this one is my another statement,
Okay.
right?
When you have like I've not done this before,
Hmm.
like you do select star from purchase cancel, and then you got comma at the end, then you do select star from purchase cancel.
Yeah.
So that when you do a from, you can do that from multiple tables. Yeah.
Yes, yes, we can do it from multiple tables. That is
Oh,
what
okay.
I mean. Here I
Okay.
have simply used the CT, but yes, you can do, I mean, one from
Okay.
purchase
Okay.
from
Okay.
CT.
Okay. It's like okay example, right? Forget CTE. If you said select star from products and select star from orders, it
Hmm.
will read from both tables.
Yes, yes, it will
Good. Good.
take it
Good. Good.
from
Good.
from
Good.
that. So I mean, one will be your CT, one
Yeah.
will be your product, and one will be your I mean the sale or whatever
Yeah.
it
Yeah. I
is, right?
understand.
So
I
you
understand.
simply join it together and you can use it. So
Mhm.
there is no point, I mean, in this select statement, wait, let me show you where it was my first query. Just a second. Yes, 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 here. Here the way we have written this select statement, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
here we have used city. Here we can use product. Here we
yeah,
can
yeah.
use cell, and we can write it something like
So it will use all those tables to see
yes, yes,
if that.
yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay, okay,
yes. We can use our joining condition. We can build the
okay,
select
okay.
statement, and we can easily pull the data.
So you don't really need to do a union all. You can just use comma.
Yes, yes.
Okay, 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 okay. Wonderful. No, I understand that.
Yep. So, I mean, any doubt? So, in this way, basically, we can reduce the lines of code, and the same query executes two times. So, if we implement the with clause, our data set is predefined, and on top of that, only we can execute it. So, our query will execute time. It will save our time as well.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if we come around like multiple repetitive SQL statements, then you can use your with clause, and you can reduce the time as well as the code
yeah,
clarity. I
so,
mean, code will be more clear to you, right?
yeah.
Because lengthy code means it's difficult to understand. If you have a short nice and clear code, it's very easy to understand it. So always prefer, I mean, in this way you just create your with clause with your main key query. You just find it out your data, okay, and then you just
Query
play
the data.
play play around with your data. That's it.
I understand. I
So
understand.
so you notice this one is, I mean, more than 188 lines. Okay, this one is
Hmm.
around 153 lines of code, whereas the modified query is just 80 lines. So
Wow.
it almost half, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and when you go to execute, definitely the time will also save,
Wonderful.
right?
Wonderful.
So
Really.
in this way we can optimize the query as well. We can write down the beautiful code, it easy to understand, and so many other benefits of having that Cte. So it is always advisable, if you have something, some big complex query, you can easily write it using the Cte.
What
So that
about performance wise for CTE?
performance wise, definitely it will improve, because as I have explained you the previous and this one, right? So
Mm,
I mean, this purchase and this sell query will execute two times. This for
yeah,
the same record set, it will execute two times. Whereas if you create one CTE, right? So CTE data, only these statements will
will
execute
run once.
all runs once, and then you can
We
put
query.
your criteria on top of that, right?
Okay.
So it saves the time as well.
What about the difference between CTE and temporary table?
So very good question, like temporary table and CTE. So as you noticed, I have not created any database object, right?
Hmm.
So it's on the fly. I mean, if you execute the query, it will create your data set and it will give you the result set.
Yes,
it
yes, agree.
it won't it won't store anywhere into your database, be it
Yeah,
permanently, be it
yeah,
temporary, right? If you want to store this Cte expression data, then you need to use the insert statement, which I
fine.
have which I have explained you. I mean, in this, using this statement, right? But it is not storing it, right?
Okay,
But in case of temporary table, what we used to do, we used to create the temporary table, so the data sets get stored into the temporary table, and we can use it. Once our session gets logged out, we can easily, it will erase the data. That's it.
no.
So this is
What
the
about,
main
sure.
difference. Yes, go
What
ahead.
is the performance difference between using CTE and temporary table?
Honestly speaking, I have not done it, but I mean, it depends on the requirement, right?
Mm,
Let's say, for example, what to say? Just for the example, if I need to do the same task, right?
yeah,
Then I need to create one temporary table, and there I'll store it, and again you need to use it, right? So if you ask me in which case you want to use temporary table, and in which case you want to use with clause, right? So I would say, if only once, for once, if you are doing anything, right, just
UCT.
Cte, you can use it, you and that's it, right? Because we don't want to go in creating the tables and all,
And
right?
then deleting afterwards.
Yes. So and if you have something like repetitive task, like kind of ETL stuff, if you're working in a
Yeah,
ETL, definitely you need to have a temporary table. You just populate the data. After that, you just need to cleanse the data and all. You just populate the data into the temporary table, and then you just clean the data, and then you just process the data, and you just load it into your target table, right?
sure.
So in that scenario, we can use the temporary table. But yes, if you are not dealing with all those things, you just need the expression, you just need to use it in your query, you just go with the Cte, and it will be done.
Okay. One last question.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
What's the difference between union and union all?
Good question. So union and union all, basically you noticed, right?
Yeah, because I use union all and you use union, so I'm a bit confused about that.
Okay, so let
I
me
don't know the
explain you.
difference.
Select one, right? So if I execute this, you see I'm getting one, right?
Yeah,
If I use union all, select one, right?
you get two records.
Two records, right? If I
Yeah,
use just union, what's the difference now?
one. I
One,
mean,
right?
once
Yeah.
when you use union, you only get
Yeah.
one record.
Yes. So it does basically, it removes the duplicate. Okay.
It removes duplicate.
Yes, it removes the duplicate. But if I put it two, you will find it will
Two
be
records.
two records, right?
Oh
Because
wow!
both are unique, right?
No,
But
nice, nice.
but if I use it one, it gives me one record.
Yeah,
If I use union all, it will give me two records,
I understand. I
right?
understand.
So union removes the
Duplicate.
duplicate and gives me the result set after appending all the data. Okay, let me
Sure.
have another result. Okay, then it will be more clear to you. Union all,
Two.
select two, right?
Get two records.
Two records, right?
And if
now
you do if you
now
do
let
union,
now let me write here union, and let's see. But still, the data gets removed, right?
yeah.
Because from here we are getting one and one.
Mm,
Okay, and this one and one is getting appended with two, right? So one and one, and
yeah.
then two. So it removes the duplicate and it gives the data,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm with
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So in this way it is working. Union basically removes the duplicate, union all basically keeps all the data and giving you the result, right?
Yeah, I
So like
understand.
that. Okay, any other question?
That's it. That's it.
Right. So
Hmm.
if you have any doubt or confusion, feel free to reach out to me.
Hmm.
Okay, and we'll happy to discuss the next thing.